Ooh, welcome back to the Boneyard Podcast, everybody. This is your host, Jared Shafit, along with my good friend, Artemis Brower. Artie, just the two of us. How we doing, my friend?
Just the two of us. Building castles in the sky. Just the two of us. I'm good, brother.
You remember when we used to sing before we came on this thing?
Yeah.
Hooty hoo. Man, those were the days.
Excited to be back, though, brother. Excited to be back. Excited. Look, hey, look, it's the original. Look, as long as we got the original cast members, then everything's peachy. So
exactly. But yeah, good to be here with you, buddy. Yeah, I mean, another week has gone by, meaning we're another week closer to East Carolina football. I mean, we're probably pushing close to 40 days. I mean, honestly, pushing close to 30 days. I mean, think about it. Think about it. On Tuesday, it'll be or Wednesday, it'll be 1 month until game day. So we're getting close. Excited for this football season, but we got a lot to talk about, a lot to break down on this episode of the Boneyard Podcast, the premier podcast of Pirate Nation. Y'all, we're proud to be members of the Variety Sports Podcast Network. Go check them out. Lots of great content. They're coming out with their NFL podcast here soon again. That's getting fired back up. Baseball season's in full swing. Make sure you follow Fat Boy Fadeaway. They're putting out a lot of great sports content. And also Variety Sports Collegiate. A lot of other college podcasts out there. If you want to check it out, maybe you got another team that you like to pull for every once in a while. There's some other podcasts out there. Go check them out. But Artie, episode number 155. 155.
Yes, sir.
You have a 55 for me?
I do have a 55, and we only bring out chalk on special occasion, right? But this is an occasion where I got to bring out chalk on this one, just because it's one of my favorite football players growing up, one of my favorite linebackers growing up, a legend. He's no longer with us, sadly, but an absolute legend. That is one Junior Seau. Junior Seau. If you don't know who Junior Seau is, go Google him. For all the young kids out there that don't know who I'm talking about, go Google this man. He's one of the absolute best all-around defensive players, linebackers to ever grace a football field. Pro Football Hall of Famer, 12-time Pro Bowler, 8-time first team All-Pro. Just absurd. Defensive Player of the Year, NFL Man of the Year back in '94. He's on the 100th anniversary all-time team, on the 90s decade team, all-decade team. Just an absolute stud of a man, stud of a football player, stud of a person, just one of the absolute greatest to ever do it. And I had the pleasure of actually watching a little bit of Junior Seau growing up. So that's my number 55 for the week, Junior Seau.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I almost went there, but I decided, I guess mine could be considered chalk. I don't consider it chalk just because, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's one of my favorite non-Braves to ever play the game. And look, I'm somebody, I hate the Yankees. But
who doesn't?
It's a guy that growing up, like, to me, he was one of the best hitters. Growing up, and I loved watching him. He's a Hall of Famer, 2-time All-Star, World Series champ, World Series MVP in 2009, left fielder, center fielder, designated hitter, Hideki Matsui. I mean, not a super long career, but one that he's in the Hall of Fame. I didn't think he was in the Hall of Fame, but I guess maybe he is. Maybe it's for his time in the Japanese leagues, but let me check that because it says he is here, but never trust Wikipedia.
Yeah, right. Because people can change
unless
that.
You got to stay. Let me check that out. Is he a Hall of Famer? Nickname Godzilla.
I've heard the name. Hideki Matsui is definitely a very famous name. I know he's an all-time great. He's a great baseball player. So Usually when you're a household name, it's either because you're really great or you're really bad. And I know he's not really bad. So
okay, this doesn't say he's a Hall of Famer. Maybe he's a baseball Hall of Famer, but not an MLB Hall of Famer.
Not an MLB Hall of Famer.
I think there's a distinction.
Okay.
I mean, looking at it, his 282 batting average, 175 home runs, over 1,200 hits, and that's just in a 9-year span. 21.2 WAR. So yeah, I mean, I guess he wasn't a Hall of Famer. Played for the Yankees, Oakland, the Angels, and finished off his career with Tampa Bay. Yeah, and he finished second in Rookie of the Year voting his rookie year in 2003. But yeah, overall, I mean, I think I don't know. He was always one of the guys that I like to watch and pull for growing up.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, that's my number 55, Hideki Matsui. Let's say Hideki Matsui. Chasui. Cool. Artie. Lots of big news going on in the ECU basketball. What? Did I do something? Do I got something on my face? Are the people watching us on YouTube going to be laughing? Oh, no.
They're always laughing at
you. I didn't know, huh?
Yeah.
They're always laughing at me.
That's normal procedure.
I mean, hey, it comes with the territory. They don't call me Big Sexy for nothing.
Hey, this is true. This is true.
Yeah, so let's talk about a little bit of the stuff that's going on in the basketball world for ECU. Two major announcements this week for men's and women's basketball. We had the announcement a couple weeks ago, I believe, maybe a couple months ago at this point. Time is a circle, Artie. I've lost all track of time since becoming a dad.
I'm sure you have.
ECU basketball is going to play South Carolina. Men and women are going to play South Carolina this year. Men are going to play in a neutral site game in Greenville, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be confused with the better Greenville, North Carolina.
That's not true. That's not true. I don't want to confuse the people out there. They know that's not true.
I mean, Artie. Greenville, South Carolina.
I have lived in Greenville, North Carolina, and I've also visited Greenville, South Carolina, and spent the night overnight there. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, Greenville, South Carolina is a much better city than Greenville, North Carolina. Not even close.
I mean, I'll give you Greenville, South Carolina is a great place to visit. I loved it. It's a beautiful city. Beautiful city.
Yeah. They got the river and the waterfall going right through the middle of the city. Like it's
I remember there's this place that had bourbon tasting, and it was free bourbon tasting. And that was not a good idea to drink that much bourbon before I needed to drive home. So I had to make my wife drive home from Greenville, South Carolina. But we did just a one night stay, and it was a good little getaway. Maybe I don't even know if we were married at that point when we visited Greenville, but nonetheless, I mean, that's one of the towns. I will say that's one of the places that I thought that if we were to ever move away from Winston-Salem, North Carolina,
Greenville,
I could see myself living in Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah, it's a nice, charming southern town, southern city. Really, it's a city.
So, well, anyways, men are going to play the Gamecocks in Greenville, South Carolina. But, Artie, the women are going to play the Gamecocks in Greenville, North Carolina. We're talking about a team that won the national championship in the last 5 years?
Yeah, they've got 2 under their belt.
I mean, that's a big time program to come into Minji's Coliseum. Look,
yeah.
We've all been there. We've been there for the ECU UConn games of past.
Yep.
We've been there. But this is a little bit different. Now that UConn's not in our conference, this is a non-conference matchup. And South Carolina is coming into Greenville, North Carolina to take on your defending American Athletic Conference champions, the East Carolina Pirates. Artie, what are your thoughts?
I mean, look, man, they give you a little clout, then they give you all the smoke, right? I mean, ECU's coming off a great season, coming off a conference championship, coming off an NCAA tournament appearance, and I'm like, oh, okay, y'all think y'all something? Here's South Carolina. Like here is the standard of women's basketball. Here's Dawn Staley. Here is USC in all its glory coming down. We're gonna see what you guys are making. Look, this is not even close. This is the biggest game in our women's basketball program history. The fact that we're hosting a team like South Carolina in Greenville, that without doubt, understand this is the biggest game in our women's program history. It is. It's just the biggest. You have the best coach in women's basketball, in my opinion, Dawn Staley. You have the program that every women's basketball program should try to model themselves after. Right now, UConn is still the standard too. They're still there, and Gino's still there. But what South Carolina has built in the last 5 to 10 years is absolutely incredible. And I would honestly love to be able to get to this game. This is one of like a bucket list game that I want to get to. ECU, South Carolina in Greenville. That is going to be awesome. Now, the matchup itself, not gonna lie, I'm not looking forward to it. I don't think our program is there yet to be able to deal with a juggernaut like SC, but our girls are going to be good. Our women, I shouldn't say girls, our women are going to be good again. They're going to be right there. They're going to be in the thick of it. They're going to be in the fight, and I think they'll put up a fight against a South Carolina that comes in.
Paint it purple, baby. Paint it purple.
Dude!
Why not? Why not? Why the hell not, Artie? It was our mantra when ECU was going through the American. Why not us? Once again, Amaya Joyner back. This team, I mean, it's bringing a lot of talent back. And Coach McNeil, the fact that she was able to keep a lot of that talent in Greenville, North Carolina.
Oh, they can definitely run it back. Yeah, they can run it back.
I don't see why anybody would pick anybody over ECU this year in women's. Yeah. USF's always pretty good. Like ECU should be, in my opinion, ECU is a top 2 team on the women's side of the ball going into this year.
So let me ask you this then: Are we talking about a top 25 caliber program right now? Is that what we're talking about?
Why the hell not?
Our ECU basketball team?
Why the hell not?
Like, that is woo. Are we talking about a top 25 right here? Are we talking about a legit contender?
I mean, the non-conference schedule, the non-conference schedule hasn't come out yet. But you got to think if you've got South Carolina coming in, and on the men's side, you're playing South Carolina and Florida. That's the other big news. The men are playing South Carolina and Florida, and I think those games are going to be back to back, going back to back. #Drake. What, Artie?
Nah, you're just funny, man.
I'm funny.
It's just funny. #Drake.
StopWhitePeople.com.
Go ahead, bro. I didn't really catch up. Go ahead.
Anyways, I mean, you're playing Florida and South Carolina. You got to think if John Gilbert and staff are getting these teams lined up on the men's side, the women's side are going to be doing the same thing. Hey, I mean, give me a Tennessee. What if ECU Tennessee and ECU South Carolina this year? Why not? Why not?
Why not? I mean, we got our coach from Tennessee. Why not?
Coach from Tennessee, ADs from Tennessee. It only makes sense. It only makes sense. I mean, I don't know. That would be huge.
Artie, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'll let you take the floor.
I was just gonna say, like, I love how we're actually, like, our non-conference in basketball is actually starting to, like, go out. Like, we realize, okay, we have to start playing legitimate competition in our non-conference. Like, yeah, you have to have some of those gimmies. You have to have those smaller programs and smaller schools so you can build up your resume a little bit, kind of get your footing. But also the non-conference is about trying to schedule some legit quality opponents to not only see where your program is, but to try to get your program better too, right? So like I'm happy to see that basketball is actually scheduling these like legit non-conference opponents. So
yeah, for sure. And Artie, I'm looking ahead, right? And we know that in the landscape of college athletics right now, you've got to always be scheduling top tier opponents, not only in basketball, not only in baseball, but also in football, right? And ECU's traditionally done a pretty good job of that. They've traditionally brought in some big time names, played them,
and
done 2-1s, 1-1s, home and homes, whatever you want to call them. ECU's done them. And we've done one with Florida. Florida didn't come to Greenville, but played them in football several years ago. We've done it with South Carolina. Used to do it with Virginia Tech. We all know the story there. We've done it with South Carolina or with North Carolina and with NC State, of course. We've got Wake Forest on the schedule. I mean, you got App State on the schedule, Boise State on the schedule. I wonder, Artie, looking ahead. Okay, so the next time that East Carolina plays an SEC opponent in football is in 2027.
Wow.
Okay. That's the next time that ECU plays an SEC opponent in football. That's South Carolina. That's the only one we got on our. That's
South
the
Carolina
one.
will be one.
That's the only one we got left on our schedule. And our schedule's got teams on it until 2031. Mm-hmm. So just looking ahead, I mean, these games get scheduled a decade in advance a lot of the time. I wonder if scheduling South Carolina for men's and women's basketball, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an announcement in the coming months. ECU South Carolina extend their series for football. Don't be surprised.
Would love that.
Don't be surprised if John Gilbert goes after and goes out and signs some deals with other SEC teams. Because look, he's from the SEC. He comes from the SEC. He knows these guys personally. I'm sure he's probably calling some of them and being like, hey, we got an open date on our schedule in 2025, open date on our schedule in 2026, open date on our schedule in 2028, 2 dates in 2029, 3 dates in 2030, 3 dates in 2031. Why not? I mean, that's what he should be doing. I mean, think about this, Artie. In 2025, you got one more open date, and I doubt he goes after an SEC team. I mean, you got 3 pretty big FBS opponents in 2025. You got to go on the road, start on the road at NC State. Then you've got the week 2 open against, you got an open date week 2. And then you've got a game scheduled on week 3 on the road at Marshall. Week 4, BYU comes into Greenville.
Yeah.
Then 2026, Artie. Week 1, home, App State. Week 2, on the road, go out to Boise, Idaho, play on the blue turf, Boise State. Week 3, West Virginia. So my guess is they're probably going to try to add an FCS opponent there. But why not? Why the hell not?
Also, I mean, like keep the door open for a Big Ten school as well. I mean, hopefully this game with Michigan keeps the door open for maybe scheduling with another Big Ten program, right? I mean, those are 2 classes of football right now: SEC, Big Ten. So not just the SEC. I wouldn't mind seeing another Big Ten team get scheduled.
I mean, schedule a game with Maryland.
Facts. Maryland. Put a Rutgers on
Penn
there.
State?
I wouldn't even mind getting
Rutgers.
Rutgers to me feels like a win. I wouldn't even mind getting the Rutgers on there.
Rutgers and Maryland feel like a win.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Get a Big Ten team on there.
What's up, Nebraska?
Nebraska might be good though. Nebraska might they might be.
I don't care.
Yeah,
but that's all right. I mean, I feel like you could beat West Virginia. I feel like you could beat West Virginia. I feel like you can beat Boise State. I feel like you could beat App State. Why not go after a big time Big Ten SEC school? I mean, even the Big 12. Why not like an Iowa State?
A Baylor?
Well, I guess Texas is going to the SEC.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've always thought that scheduling like Ole Miss, like we're doing it for baseball. Ole Miss, ECU.
That feels right, honestly. Ole Miss, ECU feels like a matchup that's supposed to happen.
Tennessee, ECU. I don't know. Artie, real quick about Tennessee. Did you see Jeremy Pruitt is now a high school PE teacher in Alabama?
I did not see that. No, I did not.
Well, he is. I thought that was funny when I saw it.
I'm gonna leave that man alone. I'm not gonna say nothing.
I mean,
wow.
Honestly, but I'm looking at like 2027 at South Carolina, home against Wake Forest, at Old Dominion, home against Georgia State. 2028, I mean, home against NC State, home against Boise State, on the road, right 5 minutes down from my house at Wake Forest.
We got some great non-conference games every year. Just great.
I mean, next year we got Old Dominion, App State, and Liberty. 2029, Old Dominion and Liberty. I don't know. Artie, you know the first game when we were students at East Carolina? Can you tell me who the first game was?
You're asking me something that happened 10 years ago. Nah, I honestly forgot. I was probably there. I was probably at the game. I want to say it was it had to have been either Old Dominion, Norfolk State, or like it was Old Dominion.
It was Old Dominion.
Yeah.
Take a wild guess at the score of that game.
Oh God! Now you ask me something I actually do not know, because I was at that game, but I do not remember. I don't even remember if we won. To be honest with you.
That was the year we went 10-3, so I'm going to say that we won.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I forget how good we were back in the day. Our freshman and sophomore year, we were actually really, really good at football.
I'm looking at our 2013 schedule, Artie, and we talk about all the near misses last year.
We got spoiled, and we had some heartbreaks that year that we probably should have won, but we still got spoiled.
We lost. I remember family weekend, Virginia Tech, 15-10.
Yeah.
Then
that was the game I remember that game because we shot ourselves in the foot on every opportunity. We were like, we outclassed Virginia Tech. We were clearly the better team than Virginia Tech, and we just shot ourselves in the foot. I remember that game.
And then we lost 3 weeks later in overtime on the road at Tulane. 36-33 in overtime. Then I remember we won out the rest of the year and lost the last week of the season, got just absolutely slaughtered at Marshall. That was on Black Friday. I remember because I was working at Best Buy and keeping an eye on the game on my phone. But the week before that is, the day East Carolina took over Carter Finley Stadium. and the purple and gold chants were going on. I was at that night. I didn't go to that game. I went to I went to a concert, Florida Georgia Line that night in Greensboro, North Carolina. The reason I went there instead of the game, guys, that was my girlfriend, now wife's birthday. So couldn't miss that one. Freshman in college. I mean, we beat Carolina, blew out State, blew out Carolina, narrowly lost to Virginia Tech, which, I mean, Virginia Tech that year was, I feel like they were pretty good. I mean, they were 8-5.
I was about to say that was still, VTech was still decent, still like a national brand, that kind of thing.
I mean, they lost to Alabama. They played Alabama week 1. And then they lost to Duke that year. Lost to Boston College. Fuck Boston College. And lost to Maryland.
Yeah, we got spoiled. We definitely got spoiled. That was the B4 Brady's year. We went to the B4 Brady's Bowl, won that.
Yep.
I remember that.
So, yeah. Taking a walk down memory lane. Wow. Those were 2013 and 2014 were good years.
Absolutely.
To be a Pirate. I mean, it's always good to be it's always a great day to be a Pirate, but 2013, man. I mean, there were games where, I mean, we beat UAB 63-14, beat NC State 42-28, Carolina 55-31. I was at that game.
Yeah. These were blowout games. A lot of these were blowout games. I mean, when I say we got spoiled, ECU wasn't just good. We were blowing teams out.
That Thursday night, September 5th against Florida Atlantic, that's the game Justin Hardy made that insane Odell Beckham Jr. catch that got called back when it was a catch. It was a catch.
I remember that.
The real ones know.
The real ones
know.
The
real ones know, Artie. All right, let's get back on track.
Let's do it.
Okay. ECU, men and women playing SEC opponents in basketball. That's huge. That is huge. Anything else on that, Artie?
Nah, honestly, I think that's it. I'm honestly excited to get to the this is for the first time in a long time, maybe the first time ever. I'm actually really excited for both men's and women's basketball to see how we're going to be. So,
yeah, I'm excited as well. Media day, Artie, or it was media week, I guess. It's 2 days. We were going to have an interview. We were going to have an interview, talk about media day, but unfortunately schedules didn't work out. We'll get them on sometime soon. ECU was picked to finish 6th in the American, Artie. Your thoughts?
It's not too far from where I actually have them, because I do have them 5th. I have ECU at 5th, so it's not like I'm that shocked that they have ECU basically middle of the pack, middle of the road. Basically, when you put in team 6 and there's 14 teams, they're basically saying it could be a little better, could be a little worse, but we think they're going to be right there in the middle. So it doesn't really shock me that they're sitting at 6. I think at best ECU will finish 3rd, 4th in the American this year. I think that's at best. I don't think they're going to compete with a Tulane or UTSA for the conference championship. But I do think best case scenario, 8 wins, finishing 3rd or 4th in the conference. So it doesn't shock me that preseason they're predicted 6.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's reasonable. Let's go through the poll. Let's go through the poll now. Is there anything else on here? Yeah, I mean, Tulane obviously picked first to win. I think that Tulane is by far the best team in the conference. Mm-hmm. And then I don't think it's even relatively close that Tulane's the number 1 team in the conference. I do think UTSA is number 2 or 3, but this is what the American Athletic Conference preseason poll says Tulane, UTSA. So Tulane received 20 first place votes. UTSA received 9. Yep. SMU received 3, and they're in 3rd. Memphis received 1 first place vote. They're in 4th. Florida Atlantic, East Carolina, North Texas, UAB. Whoever voted for UAB to finish first,
I do see they got 1 first place vote.
That's like Vandy got 3 first place votes in the SEC.
Well, look, they think that UAB's got Trent Dilfer now, so they think it's gonna be like a Dilfer effect. I guess he's just gonna skyrocket to first place. It's not gonna happen.
UAB worth about the same as a Dilfer dime. The Navy is picked 9th, Temple 10th, Tulsa 11th, Rice 12th, South Florida 13th, and then in-state rival. At least that's what the American wants us to be.
Don't do that. Don't even say that. I don't even want to start that whole no.
That's what the American wants.
No.
Do you see Biff Poggi? Is that how you say his name? Head coach at Charlotte, former assistant head coach at Michigan. Do you see what happened with him in his press conference?
I did not. I saw what Dilfer said. I didn't see what he said.
So Biff, head coach for Charlotte, only got asked 3 questions in his media day press conference, and I don't have the direct quote here, but basically said 3 questions. That's it. 3 damn questions. And basically said, we'll take note of that. I don't know. Look, I'm sorry.
I mean, as a head
coach, you're the last place team.
Feel that way. But he should feel slighted, and he should feel that way, and he should use it as motivation. No, that doesn't mean Charlotte's going to be good.
This is fantasy camp for Charlotte. It's fantasy camp for Charlotte. I'm sorry.
You should absolutely use that as motivation. Absolutely. And they are projected to finish last. They should finish last. But you should absolutely use that as motivation.
Artie, you want to go through our rankings?
Yes.
I will let you take a stab at it. I will reveal. We voted in the sidelines American Athletic Conference podcast poll. I guess I don't know who all was in it. I know there were other podcasts. I know there were other sidelines and other media outlets in it. I'll let you reveal yours first, and then I did this. This was mine that I submitted for this poll. So I'll let you give yours, and then I'll give mine.
Yeah, mine's not too different than what the original poll is. I do have some mix-ups here. Obviously, Tulane at 1, UTSA at 2, SMU at 3. So my top 4 are the same. Tulane, UTSA, SMU, Memphis are all the same. I do think those 4 teams will be at the top. Then I've got ECU at 5. I don't have Florida Atlantic over East Carolina. I don't see Florida Atlantic having a better season. East Carolina. I could also see East Carolina jumping Memphis. That's why I could see ECU finishing, at 4. If SMU has a dramatically bad season, I could see ECU jumping to 3. But that's my top 5. And then I got FAU, Florida Atlantic at 6, UAB at 7, North Texas at 8, Tulsa at 9, Navy at 10, Temple 11, Rice at 12. South Florida, and then Charlotte. I was thinking Rice would, maybe Rice and Charlotte will be battling for that bottom 2 seed or that bottom seed there, but I do think South Florida still is not there yet and will probably be a little worse than Rice. So I got South Florida, then Charlotte as my bottom 2. But that's my list. That's my American.
All right, I'm going to say this first about South Florida. I think that South Florida is one of the sleeper teams in the American. I'm not saying that they're going to finish top 5. I don't think they'll even finish top. I don't even think they finish in the top 7 in the top half.
Maybe 8 or 9.
But I have them at 8. I have USF at 8. I
Okay.
put a lot of weight on the schools that have been in the American for a while. Look, okay, I'll reveal mine. I have first Tulane. Okay, I think that's pretty easy. Like I said, I put a lot of stock in teams that have been in the American for a while. So I went number 2 with SMU. I just think that their schedule is favorable. 3, I have UTSA. 4, remember, I said ECU beats 2 of the 3, Tulane, SMU, UTSA. And here's why I have ECU at 4, is because of that. And I don't think there's many games outside of those games in conference that aren't winnable. I think that if you win 2 out of 3 of those games, I think you could win, honestly, the rest of them. Those are your 3 toughest games in conference on your schedule. So that's why. And I still think ECU is better than Memphis. ECU and Memphis don't play each other, but when you look at the last 2 years, ECU has beat Memphis both years in overtime, granted. But I still am putting ECU ahead of Memphis. ECU has a lot. ECU has a lot to replace on offense, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But I still think that there's a very high ceiling for this program or this team, and I don't think the floor is as low as other people have it for ECU. Maybe that's just me being biased, but that's my take. 5, I have Memphis. 6, UAB. 7, Tulsa. 8, USF. 9, FAU. 10, Temple. 11, North Texas. 12, Navy. 13, Rice. 14, Charlotte. So that's my take.
Yeah, our number 1 team is the same, and our bottom feeder is the same. So everybody else in the middle is going to figure it out.
I mean, and I think I said this in our group text, Artie. I think there's like 4 tiers in the American right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think 1 through 3 could be any of those 3. I think like 4 through 7 could place anywhere. So I think ECU could finish anywhere between 4th and 7th.
Yeah, it's crapshoot.
8 through 11, same thing. And then 12 through 14, I think could finish. Navy could finish last. I put it more into tiers, and that's how I do it. Look, I'm bullish on the Pirates this year. I think that there's a lot of unknown, but I think that the talent is there. So, and these guys, for the most part, have been in the program and know the playbook. They know what's going on. They know the culture. So why not? You're gonna say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's the only thing we can bank on, though, is that there's a culture that has already been set at ECU, right? So the coaching staff is there, the culture is there, the expectations are there. And yes, we still have great talent on this team. But would you say last year's roster is more talented or this year's? I mean, which roster are you taking? You're going to take last year's. You ain't got to think about it. You don't have to think about it. You're going to take last year's roster.
I mean, last year, when you look at the offense, yeah, I think last year's offense was more talented. I think there's more athleticism.
Last year's offense was more talented.
Yeah, that's what I just said that, Artie.
But you said think.
Because I think, Artie, I think you should try it sometime.
Last year's roster was more talented.
I think that last year's roster was more talented on offense. I think there's more athleticism on defense, at least in the secondary. I don't think you're going to see these crazy shootouts like we saw at times last year. I also think that our defensive line is a lot of guys returning there. I think, which was one of the top, I think, top 15 in rush defense last year. It's going to be the same this year. And then you add in some additional talent and athleticism on the back end on defense. I think defense is going to be good. Look, you lose Hole Nailers, that's tough. You lose Keaton Mitchell, that's tough. You lose C.J. Johnson and Isaiah Winstead. We're about to get to that. We're going to preview our wide receivers here in a minute. Yeah. You lose those two. That's a lot of production to replace, Artie. A lot of production to replace. But ECU is wide receiver. You always got guys coming up. Look, you got two big time transfers coming in. Chase Sowell, I'm probably butchering his name. Keelan Robinson coming in. We'll talk more about him in a second. But that's my take. And look, Marlon Gunn last year carried a lot of the weight at running back. Right? Rajay Harris, he's back healthy. Yeah, he may not be the same Rajay Harris he was last year before he tore his ACL in that game against was that the game against South Florida in Boca Raton? Anyways, that's beside the point. I do think that there's talent, but there's not as much proven talent. I think that the ceiling for this offense, even without Keaton Mitchell, could be even higher than what last year we saw.
And I agree. And I think, honestly, this roster is a little underrated a little bit. And I think the ceiling for this team at their best, fully healthy, could be something nice, right? But we went 8-5 last year with a roster that we think is better than this year's roster. So to finish in the top 4 of the American this year means we're doing just as good as last year, if not better, which is 8+ wins. And I just don't know if that
we could have easily had 10 wins last year.
We say that every year. we could have.
Yeah, but last year
we could have won that game.
Artie, would you stop smacking your jaws and let me talk?
I've been listening to you talk. I've been listening to you. You've been talking. I'll let you have your moment.
all I'm saying, Artie, do I think last year we knew what we had? This year we don't. But I think that this year there's potential for an even bigger season.
So let me ask you this. Do you think, because I think that this is outside of his first year, I think this would be Mike Houston's most challenging year as the head coach of ECU football. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, yes.
Like I think this year is definitely outside of his first year. We got to establish a culture and establish something.
I mean, the COVID year had different stuff going on, but
we throw out the COVID year. You throw that shit out. But
yeah, I mean, like I said, ECU can finish between 4th and 7th. I'll put them at 4th just because I think that there's a lot of people that are I think this team is very underrated. Going in preseason, I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Pirates.
I won't disagree with that.
I think there's a lot of people sleeping on the Pirates. Mason Garcia is going to be the real deal. Marlon Gunn, Rajay Harris are going to be good. Jalen Johnson's back. Josiah Hatfield, who was injured most of last year, he's back. He's 100% healthy. I mean, we've seen him have great times at ECU, right? Then you bring in the wide receiver transfers. You can never fully replace C.J. Johnson or Isaiah Winstead, but you're going to find different ways to do it. Shane Calhoun, we talked about him last week. Shane Calhoun's going to be pretty good. I mean, averages 10 yards per catch. He's got enough time under his belt that he knows what he's doing. Offensive line we said last year, the offensive line was pretty good. This year, it's going to be just as good, if not better. And you got another quarterback that's big, strong, and pretty mobile. I see that there's a lot of potential in this offense. But the thing is it's going to be a new looking offense compared to the last 3 years when you've had C.J. Johnson and Hole Nailers doing their thing.
Right.
But I also think that this defense is going to keep us in the ball games.
Yeah, the defense is definitely, I think, going to take, especially the secondary. I think the front seven will be about the same, if not maybe a little bit better. Because, I mean, you can't get much better than a top 15 front seven that we did a year ago. You can't get really much better than that. But I definitely think the secondary is going to take a step forward.
And, I mean, you can't be any worse than what they were last year.
Right.
I mean, the secondary was cheeks last year. You let Kurt Warner's son throw all over you. So,
his daddy is an NFL Hall of Famer.
So that's my take, Artie. I think that there's a lot of potential in this offense, but it's unproven potential.
And they've got to put it all together week 1 in Ann Arbor.
And look, week 1, Ann Arbor, us as fans, what I was going to say was us as fans can be okay and not go in there expecting to win and just go in and enjoy the experience. But fuck that. That's not how we do it around Pirate Nation. We go in, we strap it up, tie those laces, put on the pads, and you go in and you bang bodies.
Look, as a Michigan fan, ECU needs to go in there and throw the kitchen sink, Jared. That is the week 1 is the week you throw everything you got. The playbook is wide open. There are no restrictions in the playbook. None. There's absolutely nothing in the playbook that is not considered to be called. You throw it all out there in Ann Arbor. Absolutely. And you should absolutely go up there with the mindset that we're going to try to shock the world and win. Now, as ECU fans, don't be upset when we lose. Don't be naive. Don't be dumb. But, yeah, you should absolutely go up there wanting to win. Absolutely.
But outside of that game, look, we could lose all 3 of the games against SMU, Tulane, and UTSA. ECU, we talked about last week. ECU has the hardest schedule in the American. But I don't think there's another game on our schedule that isn't winnable. I just don't. App State and Marshall, I think, are winnable.
Yeah.
I think they're winnable games.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I think UTSA, Tulane, and SMU, you have a chance. And if you keep it close, who knows what can happen. ECU's played in a lot of close games in the last 2 years. Some they've won, others they've lost in heartbreaking fashion. Can ECU figure out how to win consistently in those close games? If they do, ECU's a top 4 team in this conference. That's all I'll say. If they can win close games this year, ECU's a top 4 team in the conference.
Okay.
But all right, Artie, anything else on Media Day?
That's a good breakdown. I like it.
All right, cool. Let's move on. Let's talk about Charlotte. We talked a little bit about Biff Poggi, head coach of Charlotte.
Yeah.
He's the new head coach. Has an Easter egg as his has an egg as his profile picture on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Charlotte's 3-9 last year. They've had 1 winning season in their 9 years of FBS ball. They went to a bowl game in 2019. They picked to finish last. We just talked about that. Lots of roster turnover. Had a lot of transfers out. Lots of transfers in. I'm not going to go through all of them. Let's talk about last year. Let's talk about their schedule last year. I'm pulling it up. Like I said, they went 3-9 last year. They did have a win over. Let's see.
I will say this about Charlotte though, for a program that hasn't even been in existence for over a decade, they've moved up rather quickly. Like they've definitely moved up rather quickly. For a program that's only had 1 winning season since they've been Division I, they moved up rather quickly. So I'll give them credit for that. But not much else to go off.
So in Conference USA, they finished 2-6 in Conference USA. They lost to. All right, we'll go through their schedule. At Florida Atlantic, started the season, loss 43-13. Home against William and Mary, lost 41-24. At home against Maryland, lost 56-21. On the road at Georgia State, at at Center Park Stadium, Old Turner Field, won 42-41. Then they went on the road the next week, lost South Carolina 56-20. Played UTEP the next week at home, 41-35. Off week at UAB, lost 34-20. FIU at home, lost 34-15. Rice beat 56-23. WKU loss 59-7. Middle Tennessee State loss 24-14. Louisiana Tech win 26-21. I mean, come on. You lost to William and Mary. You lost. They're
the same as a William and Mary, Jay. What are you talking about? They're not that good of a football team.
You lost 59-7 to Western Kentucky.
West Kentucky's a better football team. Better program.
I mean, we've been there. ECU's been there. Charlotte puts so much money into their program now. That's why they're where they are. But like looking at it, I mean, look, Western Kentucky was a good team last year. But to lose 59-7, and we've been there, and then to be upset when you get picked to finish last in a new conference when you're taking a step up. I'm sorry. Charlotte, like I said, there's no chance. But I guess why even play the games if there's no chance? So that's my take. Artie, Charlotte, they're going to be the punching bag in the American.
They're still a program that is trying to build something, right? I mean, they're not even a decade old. I mean, it's going to take time. I do like the hire, right? I do like the former Michigan assistant coach. You know, who knows if he's going to be successful or not, but I do like the hire. I do think he's going to actually instill some toughness, instill a culture there. But it's going to take time. It's going to take years. And Charlotte's not going to be good this year. They're not going to be good next year. They might be okay 3 years from now. Like this is going to take time. And right, they did a step up. Like they weren't good in Conference USA, and now they moved up to a better conference. So yeah, they're going to be bottom of the barrel. They're going to be at the bottom. They're going to be there for a little while, but they are in a big market. They are in a big city, and if they do it right, they could be something in a few years.
And they were listed as the easiest schedule in the American. I mean, if this is an easy schedule in the American, I mean, I guess it's not. You get to miss Tulane and UTSA, but I don't think this is a necessarily easy schedule. You play week 1 at home, South Carolina State. Then you go on the road, play Maryland. Then you play at home against Georgia State. Week 4, you're on the road in the swamp at Florida. Next week, you go on the road at SMU. Then you have back-to-back weeks, Navy, ECU. Following ECU, they play Florida Atlantic, Tulsa, Memphis, Rice, and USF. So, yeah, the back half of their schedule is easy. Front half, not so much, but they get to miss.
They've got like 4 to 5 straight losses in those like first 6 games.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Just my 2 cents. Just thinking about it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not.
We don't hate Charlotte though. There's no Charlotte hate because there ain't nothing to hate on. There ain't nothing to hate about the 49ers. So
I did see one of their 26 fans in Home Depot last week though. I love Charlotte was trying to start beef on Twitter with ECU, talking about how they were gonna fill our stadium, and we were like, I don't know. I was like, you can't even get like 10,000 in your stadium. How are you gonna fill our 50,000?
And truth be told, I've been to bigger high school football stadiums on a Friday night with more people. So
now, Artie, I'm looking at some of their future schedules. They got some decent future schedules on there. 2024, they play James Madison at home. Then they go on the road to Carolina. Then they play Gardner-Webb at home, and then they're on the road at Indiana. 2025 at home against Carolina, at home against Monmouth, on the road at Georgia.
Ooh.
2026,
no.
home versus the Citadel, home against Ole Miss, on the road at App State, on the road at Louisville. 2027 at Ole Miss, home against App State. 2028 at App State. 2029 at Ohio State.
Wow.
Home against Appalachian State, on the road against James Madison. 2030 at NC State, home against App State. 2031 home against NC State.
I mean, that's how you do it. Non-conference has got to be brutal. Honestly, it's got to be. It's got to be brutal. You got to, if you're trying to build a program, non-conference got to be legit.
Yeah, why don't we schedule Ole Miss?
I want Tennessee over Ole Miss. I want Tennessee. Yeah. That's what I want. I want to go to Knoxville.
I wish that I could be on Rocky Top, Tennessee. Rocky Top,
take me to Knoxville.
All right, wide receivers. Artie, we've been going for a while. Let's go through this pretty quick. I mean, we talked about it. CJ Johnson, Isaiah Winstead, gone.
Mm-hmm.
Artie, you and I were talking before we hopped on. Isaiah Winstead, how in the world was he not even a second-team all-conference wide receiver?
An honorable mention? Like, are you fucking serious? An honorable mention for 88 receptions and 1,085 yards.
And then, I mean, CJ Johnson, 67 receptions, 1,016 yards receiving, 10 touchdowns. I mean, those were two of the best wide receivers in the conference. But ECU wasn't Cincinnati, UCF, or Houston. They weren't Tulane. There's some kind of media bias against East Carolina, and I'll forever believe that. Like, the media hates us, and I don't understand why.
88 receptions and 1,085 yards is good for anybody in any conference, and the fact that he was an honorable mention, oh my goodness! I mean, we've known this for a while now, but like to see it again is like, oh shit, that's right. He was only an honorable mention. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So you lose those two. You try to replace them. Bring in two transfers. Keelan Robinson, transfer from Kansas, 6'2", 205 pounds. Chase Sowell, transfer from Colorado, 6'2", 185 pounds. I think Chase is gonna be second string this year. Probably sitting behind Jalen Johnson, I would assume. I think Keelan probably going to get the start in the slot. You're also probably going to look at like Josiah Hatfield. Like I said, I think Josiah Hatfield has a breakout year.
Yeah.
And then Jalen Johnson, who at times I thought was going to be wide receiver one last year. I think Jalen Johnson solidifies himself as that number one.
I mean, like ECU, it's been a wide receiver U for a long time, right? And if there's one thing we know how to figure out, we know how to figure out wide receivers. But this is a year where I am a little kind of I just because you always go into it every year, at least as long as we've been doing this podcast, we're going into the season like, yeah, we know we're gonna have a stud right here, and we don't necessarily know that for a fact. We think Jalen Johnson can be. We think Josiah Hatfield can have a breakout season. But we don't know that for a fact like we have in years past. Where we're like, okay, yeah, this guy's definitely gonna put up some numbers, some video game like numbers. So, but if there's one room that I always have faith in at ECU, it's the wide receiver room. So I do think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I'm not worried about the wide receivers. We'll figure it out.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about the depth chart, but there's so many of them.
Yeah, it's a lot. it's a lot.
I'm not. We've been going for an hour. Let's start wrapping this thing up. All right. Other news. This has an impact on ECU. Jim Harbaugh suspended for 4 weeks, first 4 games of the season, including game 1 against East Carolina, for giving a recruit a hamburger for breakfast, something like that. Yeah. Artie, do you know more about this?
It's he basically technically fabricated to the NCAA. He didn't come out and tell them the whole story. He only told them half the story about him going out and whining, dining a recruit with a hamburger. It's typical NCAA bullshit, but it is what it is. Jim Harbaugh's not going to be there for the first 4 games. It's not going to impact Michigan at all, in my honest opinion. But whenever you don't have your head guy out there, I mean, it does impact you a little bit because you don't have your head coach out there. But to me, it's typical NCAA bullshit.
For sure. Yeah. And then, I don't know. All I'm going to say is hammer the spread.
Facts.
Hammer the spread. All right. Let's finish it up. Conference realignment. We won't talk about all of the stuff. The big one, Colorado, set to join the Big 12.
Yeah.
Already. We'll see how that goes. Look, right. Colorado has 3 winning seasons in the last 20 years. Did you know that?
Yeah. But I mean, historically, they're a great program. I mean, this is a team that's won a national championship. Like, they're historically a great program.
So has Marshall. So is Marshall.
Hey, look, they got Deion though. We'll see what Deion can do. We'll see what old Primetime can do up there in Boulder.
I don't know. He's either going to be the best coach and win the Pac-12 championship this year, or his team's going to go 0-12.
Hey, look, I was saying this before we got on though. Make the American a true American athletic conference. Take it all around the United States. Pick up the scraps from the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 is dead. They're not going to be a conference. And let's just make it one super conglomerate American athletic conference.
Welcome to this week on College Game Day, where we're watching Washington State play Florida Atlantic.
Yes. Come on, man. You can get from coast to coast in 6 hours, man. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal.
Welcome into Monday night college football, because now we're putting college games on Monday night too.
I mean, that's where it's going.
Where Rice takes on Arizona State. Honestly, that might not be a bad game.
They're close. Rice is in Texas. Texas is in the middle of the country.
Temple versus Temple and Oregon State face off on a Wednesday night. God bless.
Why not? Why not, man? Look, you're literally about to have USC and Ohio State as a new rivalry. So why the hell not?
Honestly, a good rivalry. Navy versus San Diego State. If San Diego State joins the Pac-12, Navy, San Diego State.
Yeah, that'd be good.
You know what, Artie? Why not do this? You take the top half of the Mountain West, the top half of the American, and then the scraps of the Pac-12 and put together a conference.
Put together a huge super conglomerate of all the teams nobody wants, and then we just quietly take over.
Boise State, Air Force, Navy, Colorado.
That's a good San Diego State.
San Diego State, Arizona State. Why not?
That's good conference.
I don't know. All I'm gonna say is conference realignment is going to continue to be a thing, and ECU needs to step the fuck up.
Think about that in baseball, though, man. Natties after natties with that conference.
Jesus. All right. Do you have a walk the plank? Let's get out of here.
Yeah, I do have a walk the plank. I'm gonna make it quick. I don't know if you saw the story. Florida A&M FAMU, they got into some trouble last week because they had a guy go into. I don't even know this rapper. He's not a well-known rapper, but go into the locker room and film a rap video in the locker room. Don't know how he got in. Don't know how he got credentials. Apparently, he was with a bunch of players. But the coach came out and, deservedly so, was pretty pissed off, suspended all football activities. And so just a bad look for the university, a bad look for the program. Cannot have things like this going on. It's, the locker room, it's business. It's not play. We don't go in there and joke around, play around, whether you're getting strapped up and getting ready for practice or you're getting ready for a football game. When you get to that locker room, it's about business. All the outside bullshit is outside noise. So I definitely understand the coach doing what he did, but to the people that were involved in this in the locker room, walk the damn plank. Just not a good look for FAMU.
Yeah. Trying to think if I've got one. I don't know, man.
What? Jared doesn't have a walk the plank?
I don't have one. All right, let's get out of here. Artie, I don't have anything else. Let's wrap it up.
Hey, as always, Power Nation, till next time, wash your hands, wash your butts. Deuce.
Peace.